Joe, there hasn't been a ton of time on task with Josh and like Curtis this offseason, and even Elijah's a newer person, Palmer and things like that. Where do you feel the chemistry is at with that group, Josh, with these receivers heading into week one?
Yeah, I feel good about where their chemistry is. I think anytime until you start going through just live, you get the game action, you go through the live bullets, and being able to see, as I think all the chemistry is always just going to naturally grow throughout a season. One thing when you're going against in practice, but um, Josh and Elijah are the two like new pieces, but everybody else, I think Josh has a good feel of, how they work, how they move, how to throw to them, and fortunately Elijah and Josh got a lot of reps with him in this off season, going back to even in OTA. So I feel really good about the group going into the season.
How has Keon continued to build on training camp and into the preseason?
Yeah, he's like I said all along, everything we've challenged him, just taking another step of a guy going into a second year, right? And he's got the right mindset and, the mentality that he's kind of going with, and not setting any expectations or anything, just as long as he just keeps doing what he's been doing, good things are going to happen.
Last year, at least externally, there was a lot of questions about what your offense was going to look like with just the departures and the new personnel that you had. How much more comfortable do you feel going into this season? There's a couple new pieces, but it is largely the same core group that you guys had last year.
Yeah, I mean, I felt confident going into last season. I feel confident because of the guys that we have. We have a great coaching staff, the players that I get to work with. I believe in what we do here, and I believe in how Bean evaluates and bringing guys in to kind of fit what we're looking for. And so I don't think you're ever in a comfortable setting, right? You're always trying to find ways. You got to get better. I got to get better. Our offense has to get better. But my approach and my mindset, I kind of feel the exact same way going into the season. I'm excited. I'm ready to see these guys kind of go out there and do what they do.
From an offensive standpoint, what have you seen from this revamped defensive line and the way that they've been able to grow from rookie minicamp, but going against your unit?
Yeah, I mean, there was obviously there was a focus on improving that offensive line clearly, and it hasn't been fun going against them, right? We've added some a guy like Joey Bosa with his experience and getting to see him just live in action. I'm happy that he's on my team and not having to go against him anymore, at least, especially in practice, and then seeing those young guys come in. It's I like the depth of that team or that unit, but again, it's all those things you're going to get a feel once you get out there. We've been going against each other every single day. We know how each other rushes, how each other blocks. Now it's about, hey, how can we apply it now going out on the field? No different for our offense line and some of our young guys like Jackson Haw, right? He's been an absolute stud, in the run game for us now. How's it going to look like when he's out there? So I'm sure it's the same thing for the defensive line.
Joe, speaking of Jackson Haws, you guys ran jumbo more than any other team last year. With the addition of him to the mix, how does he factor into when you guys decide to go heavier up front?
Yeah, he was, look, I know it's the tight end position, especially coming out of college, is one where it's a lot of just like receiving tight ends. And so that was so exciting of watching Jackson Haws because might be, and I don't want to ever just like put a guy into like, hey, he's a blocker, but he's the best blocking tight end we've evaluated. The way that he kind of comes out, and so it makes life a little easier for us. We hope in terms of at least game planning, knowing, we don't necessarily always have to put a jumbo out on the field, right? But he's been everything we've wanted. Again, he's a rookie, right? Just like all this, we're going to get a feel of the action as he goes out there. But Hawsey's been great. He's learning, and when you go and get to block Joey Bosa and Greg Russo every single day, you're only going to continue to grow. And excited about his growth, and excited to watch him go play football on Sunday.
What challenges do the Ravens defense present? Josh mentioned yesterday their entire secondary is filled with former first-round picks.
Yeah, I mean they've been a great defense for such a long time, right? I mean, there's not. I know from Josh's standpoint, obviously in the pass game, but really at all levels of their defense, they don't really have a lot of weaknesses, right? And that's why we had opportunity to play them in the playoffs last year, right? You don't get to the playoffs without having that, and obviously, I think, and they've improved their unit. And so, they obviously drafted in D-line, drafted some in the secondary, and so there's not a really a weakness to the defense. And as always, you're going to go into a season, you really can just go off of what they did the previous year, and you're going to have to figure out a way to adjust and adapt as it kind of goes. But it's going to be a great opportunity, a great challenge for us.
When it comes to Cook and Shakir signing extensions this offseason, how rewarding is it as a coach to watch those two not only just grow in their skill set, but grow as young men and leaders of this team?
Yeah, it's look, I obviously wasn't good playing football, and so I had to coach. But one of the greatest rewards is seeing the guys that you love, you care for, you want to do everything, and seeing them have success. That's everything. And so, seeing those guys, I've had an opportunity since I've been here. I saw them when they were rookies, and seeing their transformation and their growth, and then to be rewarded with the contract, and then to, I know you guys might necessarily see it all, but just see how that it hasn't changed either of them. And I'm so grateful that I get to coach those guys. But I love that, nothing's kind of changed for them, and that's why they're a part of us, and that's why we're hoping that they're going to have another great year, just because they don't really change their process since the rookie year to now. It's pretty impressive.
How important is physicality to your approach to coaching offense?
Yeah, it's a lot of people always put physicality as a defense, but there's no reason your offense can't be a defensive philosophy. Just what I mean by that is people are always kind of saying, hey, offense has to be this. You want to be explosive, you want to be fast, and then defense, you're going to be the physical, but the physical group. But you don't have to always have that approach, right? We want to obviously put the ball down and have a physical game, and we know that the outfit that we're going against this weekend feels the exact same way, right? And so, it's you can't ask for a better opportunity to start the season. Great teams obviously off of last year. We're both going to have to earn it this year, but the physicality, that's usually how the game kind of goes, right? You don't look at the scoreboard, and usually the most physical team wins.
Where have you seen growth from Ray Davis in year two so far?
I think the biggest thing is just learning. I think I might have spoken on this a little bit, but just learning the schemes. And I know that sounds obvious, but really the nuances to all right, I know my assignment. I'm an offensive player. I know on this play the run is to the right. But now understanding the defense of how the defenses play. Okay, we're playing the Baltimore Ravens. They might play. Their D-line might play like this different than last week, and how the offensive line is going to approach the blocks differently. And, just him asking the questions and him understanding that element of all the things that look like, hey, we're just running the exact same play, but yet it's very different week to week. And so it's been cool to see him now. Last year was just trying to figure it out, where now it's slowed down kind of, and he was such a huge part for us last year, and so excited to see now him take another step year two, just like Keon.
Has missed a lot of time over the past couple months now. For him to be healthy and back out at practice, how is he looking, and what are you looking forward to with him to start the season?
Yeah, look, I think the perk is I've obviously been with Curtis for a while, right? So I know the value that Curtis brings. You felt him in the playoffs last year, right? I didn't do a good enough job early in the season last year, getting him integrated into the offense, and so I got to make sure I do a better job this year. You feel his speed when he's out there. He makes plays, and the ball in his hands, good things happen, and so he's a guy that obviously unfortunate for the injuries that he had and how long he was out there, but when he's on the field, good things happen. And similar to John's question earlier, is we know him. Josh has chemistry with him, understands him, so it's a seamless transition. Hey, you come back in, it's hey, I know how this guy kind of runs the routes, and so I don't expect there to be a hiccup from that.
You've been in these positions before, but how would you describe your emotions right now as you get ready for a season? I'm sure it's probably a lot of different things.
Yeah, usually I'm speaking to you guys on Mondays, right? So it's right after a game, and you're just trying to figure it all out going into now it's hey, wrap up the last game and kind of move on to the next one. This one's a little different, right? Because you're in the middle of the game planning process, and you have so much tape on a previous opponent that their last game was on them. So you can the hardest thing right now is trying to make sure you don't do too much, right? And so balancing the emotion of trusting your guys and allowing them to do what they can do. But my brain never stops throughout the week until kind of Saturday we go home. Then I kind of take a reset, and then I always walk into a game confident, and not because of the game plan, but just because of the guys we got. It's I should feel that way, but in the middle of the week, man, it's you never feel like you're going to get it all in, and you're trying to figure out how you're, finish third down today. We'll start red zone tonight, and trying to figure out how to score some touchdowns. So it's kind of like this all week. I'm not the best personality during the week, but we'll find a way. We'll be ready to go on Sunday night.
Like on game days as a play caller, week one, the excitement, the energy, like how do you kind of manage all that and get yourself kind of locked into that flow state on Sunday night?
Yeah, I just like I ask our players, it's my job to, my biggest fear is not being prepared, and so sometimes that can be a negative, right? You can almost sometimes look at too much or try to overthink things, but there's nothing greater than being able to call plays, right? And I get to go out there and do what I love, with the guys that I love, and so I'm excited. I know you can see it with the great energy I'm bringing right now. But, yeah, I'll be excited. I'll be fired up. But then once you go up into the box, man, and you're as calm, focused, and you're trying to get into that flow state and try to find and get in the rhythm of the game and how the pulse. But it's going to be an incredible environment, right? You're at home, high mark. I mean, you got to embrace it, acknowledge it. It's the reality of what it is. But once the ball kicks off, everything kind of gets silenced right there, and we're just playing football, and I got to make sure I'm doing a good job of getting a feel and a pulse of the guys as the game's going, knowing that, hey, the first game there's going to be some natural, anxiety, anxiousness, and then eventually slow down and we can play some football.
Everybody has a different definition of flow state. A lot of the players talk about being in that flow state. What's the flow state for you?
That's a great question. I'm still trying to figure it out. The flow state for me is when I feel like I'm the plays I'm calling, Josh is making them work. That's usually where it's at. No, I don't think you're ever in a flow in a game, just because, hey, you think you're in a rhythm and you're rolling, and just because a play, as soon as one drive's over, you're kind of rolling for the next. So I think the biggest thing is just staying present, knowing that there's 60 minutes of a game. Like, to me, whether you're in a flow or not, there's so many peaks and valleys of a football game, and if you try to get too high, too low, you can start bad, but it's like, okay, we didn't start strong. Let's figure out what we got to do. And so to me, really, it's just making sure my flow is just not changing my process, and knowing that I got a long game, until that clock strikes zero. Man, they have an opportunity to win the game, and so do we. And so I'm still trying to figure out that flow. Awesome, thank you guys.